list, including Best Health, Men's Exercise, Toronto Star, just to name a few. While this may sound impressive, what I am really most proud of is my 55-year-old father-in-law, Dan, and the unique breakthrough he stumbled upon after nearly dying in the airplane that day while en route to visit his family back in Europe. You have to agree that his life-saving belly fat transformation is nothing short of miraculous. The same goes for his wife Sylvie, who followed the exact same 2-minute ritual and lost more than 29 pounds of belly fat without any signs of type 2 diabetes or high blood pressure. This brings tears to my eyes as I can remember the moment when I asked for Dan's permission to marry his daughter many years ago. I recall standing on his driveway on a sunny afternoon and promising how I would take care of his little girl and keep her from harm. At that time, Dan was already showing signs of the health problems that would soon threaten his life. His stomach was sticking out and he was at least 20 pounds overweight. On top of that, he was tired all the time and had very sore joints that prevented him from taking a walk. Even the easiest exercises seemed to result in cries of pain, and he spent more and more time on the couch watching TV while life passed him by. That's why it hit me like a ton of bricks when I learned of his terrifying heart attack in the airplane that day. Dan was flying back to his boyhood home in Europe when about 3/4 of the way through the flight, he began to feel nauseous and like a weight was squeezing his chest. He started sweating profusely and collapsed in the aisle when he stood up to go to the washroom. In a panic, his wife signaled the flight attendant for help. As he lay in the aisle of the airplane in pain with his wife holding his hand, his mind filled with emotion and worry. Would he see his children again? Would he live to see his grandkids or enjoy retirement? The tears streamed down his cheeks as he struggled to catch each precious breath. The captain was notified and the plane was diverted to the nearest airport. Terrified and in unimaginable pain, Dan was transported to a hospital in Germany where he discovered that he was in fact having a heart attack. As scary as this was for Dan and his wife, it was the best thing that could have happened. That's because it was in Germany where he would find the doctor and the unusual 2-minute ritual that would cause him to suddenly lose 39 pounds and save his life. Fortunately for Dan, the doctors were able to treat him in time and he survived that horrific event. The very next day, the specialist stopped by to speak with Dan and show him the ritual that would remove plaque from his arteries, reverse his type 2 diabetes, and cause him and his wife to lose more than 60 pounds of deadly belly fat. In fact, it would be fair to say that this near-tragic event saved their marriage. Leading up to this, their lives were becoming more and more sedentary, as neither had the energy or desire for activities or even for sex. Prior to this happening, neither of them realized how bad their health really was. They just brushed off their lack of energy and sex drive to getting older. Subtle signs that something may be wrong, like a crease in his earlobe that suddenly appeared, numbness and cold in their hands and feet, and strange foot cramps when lying in bed were ignored. Not to mention their ever-expanding belly, butt, and thighs that seemed to keep growing no matter how many vegetables they ate or how often they tried to exercise. To put it bluntly, this whole event was like one giant alarm bell going off for both of them. If this had not happened, then they both would have kept on living life as usual, while their stomachs continued to get bigger and bigger with each passing month. Like most folks, Dan and Sylvie had tried losing fat before and had gone so far as to follow a low-carb diet, paleo, and even those ready-made meals from Weight Watchers. The sad part is that none of these programs fix the hidden, deadly problem that is making you gain belly fat and putting you at risk for sudden heart attack or diabetes. Sure, you may lose a couple of pounds the first week or so, yet the fat always comes back with a vengeance. Plus, these diets do little to remove the deadly fat inside your arteries and surrounding your internal organs. And if that's not enough, these diets are almost impossible to follow and always made Dan and Sylvie feel like crap with all the intense cravings. And Dan's vision even became worse at one point due to all the wild blood sugar fluctuations these diets were causing. His doctor warned him that he was already borderline diabetic and may soon need to go on insulin injections for the rest of his life. Perhaps the worst part about all of these other diets was that the fat growing on his belly simply wouldn't budge. The frustration was unbearable because it felt like they were putting in all of the money and effort, yet not getting enough in return. The problems with their weight, energy levels, and sex life was taking its toll on their marriage, and they found themselves slipping into a long, boring routine of going to work, watching TV, and going to bed while feeling constantly tired, depressed, unhappy, and dissatisfied. This is where things were at just before that fateful day, when they would board the airplane for Europe, not realizing that their lives were about to change forever. Standing in the waiting room of the hospital with tears streaming down her cheeks, Sylvie waited while the doctors worked hard to save her husband's life. The next day she was allowed to see Dan, and the emotions overtook her as she fell to her knees, thanking God that he was alive, and would be able to go home in a few days' time. That was when the doctor came in and told her the words that would forever change their lives. He said, "Sylvie, your husband was lucky. If this had happened while your plane was halfway over the ocean, he would be dead. Fortunately, we were able to save him. However, there is much more work to be done. Dan must lose at least 30 pounds of belly fat, fast. His current lifestyle is killing him, and if he doesn't lose this weight, he is likely to die from another heart attack soon. His blood pressure and blood sugar levels are off the chart. I recommend he sees Dr. Heinrich and starts on a specialized program to lose his deadly stomach fat, lower his blood pressure, and get his blood sugar under control, or he won't live to see his next birthday." Sylvie was in shock, yet deep inside she knew the doctor was right, and that this was something they both had to do if they ever hoped to see their kids grow up or live a happy, healthy retirement. Yet at the same time she was skeptical. She was thinking, how could we ever lose so much weight when everything we had tried in the past had failed? Dan and I have struggled to lose as much as 5 pounds in the past 3 months, so how the heck are we both going to lose 30 pounds so quickly? Sylvie also knew that Dan had been given a second chance from God, and the next time they may not be so lucky. She also realized how quickly life can change and how important it was that they not squander this gift they had been given. It was at that moment that she made a promise to the doctor that she would do everything he recommended so that she and Dan would not have to live under the constant threat of diabetes, heart disease, and other diseases that come with having too much belly fat. Perhaps the biggest motivation was that just before they left on this trip, Dan learned that his daughter was pregnant with twins. More than anything, Dan and Sylvie wanted to live to see their grandkids grow and shower them with love. If they continued on the path they were following, chances are they would not live to see them take their first steps. Even though Dan and Sylvie were not very religious people, that night she fell to her knees and prayed that God would send them a miracle. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she thanked God for saving Dan's life and for helping them find the answer to the problem they were facing. The very next morning, Dan and Sylvie's prayers were answered when they met the man who had saved their lives, Dr. Heinrich. Dr. Heinrich is one of those rare people who exudes charisma, warmth, and intelligence. He burst into Dan's room and greeted them both with a warm hug and a big smile, and said, "Welcome to the first day of your new life. Today I am going to give you a precious gift, and you are going to love it more than any gift you have ever received in the past. That's because today I am going to give you the gift of life. I am going to show you a simple ritual that will turn back the clock on the health problems you are experiencing and make you look and feel 20 years younger. Dan, the heart attack you survived was your wake-up call, and you only get one of those. The next time you won't be so lucky. However, here is the good news. Your heart attack was just a symptom of an underlying problem. This problem is simple. You have too much belly fat and your blood sugar and bad cholesterol levels are off the charts. Rather than put you on blood thinners and statin drugs that I know can kill you, I am going to give you a breakthrough new protocol that we are using with patients here in Germany to lose belly fat at an alarming rate each day. Dr. Heinrich explained, this new breakthrough addresses the one true cause of abdominal fat gain, diabetes, and heart disease. It's not a hormone. It's not a type of fat. It's not new exercise methods. Yet when you correct this one thing, you fix all those other health issues, and your body can naturally restore itself, and you lose the pounds of fat, your arteries clear, and your blood sugar stabilizes. This has nothing to do with counting calories or even balancing hormones. What this does is it targets the underlying cause of heart disease, diabetes, hormonal issues, and belly fat. When combined with 5 specific natural body movements, we've seen this breakthrough prevent arterial sclerosis, lower blood pressure, reverse type 2 diabetes, and improve circulation while causing fat loss, especially from the abdominal area, faster than ever thought possible. Dan was confused and asked Dr. Heinrich why he had not been told about this life-saving breakthrough by his own doctor back home. He told Dr. Heinrich about the advice the dietitian had given him, and how he had not lost a single pound from his stomach in over 3 months of effort. Dr. Heinrich shrugged his shoulders and said, "The reason you have not heard about this before is simple. It is all natural, making it impossible to profit from. The doctors in North America are taught to prescribe drugs first and are not taught about natural healing methods like this. In this country, we learn about both types of medicine, naturopathic and allopathic, and this is why you have not heard about this highly effective method before." As you can imagine, Dan was excited. After Dr. Heinrich explained the science, he was blown away and eager to get started. Dr. Heinrich said that this new breakthrough has an incredible success rate with his patients. It didn't matter if they were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or even 60s, or if they were male or female. Every single person lost their deadly belly fat. And that's not all. In addition to losing their deadly ab fat, those people who had symptoms of heart disease and type 2 diabetes had those symptoms reduced substantially as well. What was even more shocking was that these results were achieved without following any high-intensity exercise programs, restrictive diets, dangerous fat-burning supplements, or eating foods that taste like dry cardboard. All that was involved was a quick 2-minute ritual, a few simple foods, herbs, and spices, and 5 natural body movements performed in a very unique fashion, and this produced daily belly fat loss for every person who tried it. Now, even though Dr. Heinrich is very well respected and has won awards for his groundbreaking work that prevents heart disease, reverses type 2 diabetes, and causes shocking weight loss in men and women at any age, Dan was still skeptical. Dr. Heinrich then explained in simple terms exactly how his method works and why it was virtually unheard of back in the United States, Canada, and other countries. He said that Dan's heart attack, diabetes, and belly fat were a result of a hidden internal irritation. This invisible irritation was causing fat to accumulate on the outside of his body around his waist, and also inside his body around vital organs and even in his arteries. Dan's heart attack and diabetes were a direct result of this irritation and excess internal fat. He said this internal irritation was like a fire raging inside his body, damaging his metabolism and hormonal systems, and unless he takes the steps necessary to put the fire out, it will lead to certain death. He explained that this same deadly irritation is happening in the bodies of most men and women over the age of 35. Countless studies have proven this to be the #1 reason people fail at losing belly fat and suffer with symptoms of diabetes, heart disease, and even depression. And the most surprising thing he said was that too much exercise and eating many of the popular health foods is only making the problem worse, leading to more internal irritation, weight gain, heart disease, diabetes, and depression. The worst part is, the approach most Western doctors take to reducing this problem is through the use of dangerous drugs. The problem with this is that it only masks the symptoms and does little to address the underlying problem that caused the irritation in the first place. And if that isn't scary enough, get this. The latest studies show most people in large populations, especially in Western cultures, are living with high levels of this internal irritation, and this creates a huge amount of stress on their body. This stress causes a massive increase in the muscle-destroying hormone called cortisol, which causes more fat to accumulate around your belly, while also eating away your muscle tissue, killing your metabolism while raising your blood sugar levels. This then knocks your natural fat-burning cycle out of balance, while causing you to crave more sugar, sweets, and other junk-type foods. When this happens, you find yourself gaining weight for no apparent reason, while finding it next to impossible to lose even a pound. Seeing the pain and suffering in Sylvie's eyes, he grabbed her by the hand, took a deep breath, and said, "My research team and I have discovered the answer to this irritation and the reason why so many North Americans struggle with losing belly fat, diabetes, heart disease, slow metabolism, and arthritis. Our method works incredibly fast, and because all of our research was done on men and women over the age of 35, we know it will work for your husband too." And that's not all. Our new method will also address the plaque that is clogging his arteries and quickly reverse all of his type 2 diabetic symptoms. This all-natural combination of whole foods, herbs, minerals, and vitamins, taken in the exact way we show you, will not only melt away deadly belly fat, assist in cleaning out clogged arteries, and lower insulin levels. It also increases levels of a powerful hormone that will improve the flow of blood and nutrients to increase youthful energy, sexual performance, plus tighten and tone the skin on the face while reducing wrinkles. Dr. Heinrich then sighed and said, "Look, Sylvie, I don't want to sound out of line. However, I believe that this is something you will benefit from as well. In fact, we encourage couples to support each other and follow the program together. Even though you didn't have a heart attack, I can see that your waist is too large for your frame, and this is a ticking time bomb for heart disease and diabetes. So why don't you both do the program?" Dan and Sylvie were not sure what to believe. After all, they had tried many different diet programs in the past and had even worked with a personal trainer, yet never could lose their belly fat or stop the progression of heart disease and diabetes. They reminded Dr. Heinrich that they weren't exactly spring chickens, and that he was dealing with a couple who both suffer from joint pain, low back pain, and problems sleeping. Dr. Heinrich reassured them that this program was different. It was designed specifically for men and women over the age of 35 and was completely safe. In fact, he said that most people who follow the simple 2-minute ritual see their joint problems reduced dramatically within days due to the reduction of irritation in their joints. He also reassured them that his program didn't involve any vigorous exercise or heavy lifting, so there was nothing for Dan or Sylvie to worry about. As Dr. Heinrich was turning to leave, he suddenly stopped, turned around, and said something Dan and Sylvie would never forget. "I know that this may sound strange coming from a doctor. However, you need to hear this. In my 20 years experience, I have never had a patient have a heart attack on an airplane and survive. God has given you a beautiful gift with a second chance, so don't squander it. Follow this program together and you may live to see your grandchildren get married one day. Or you can roll the dice, fly back home, and take your chances. The choice is up to you." Deep down inside, Dan and Sylvie knew Dr. Heinrich was right. God had given them a gift, and it was now up to them to make the most of it. They both felt a sense of calm and knew that they could trust Dr. Heinrich to save them from a life of obesity, diabetes, joint pain, and many other diseases that affect most men and women over the age of 35. So the next morning, Dr. Heinrich met them carrying 2 3-ring binders, each containing 29 pages of easy-to-follow instructions. He said that inside these binders was everything Dan and Sylvie needed to turn off the internal fire that was ravaging their bodies, clear out their arteries, reboot their metabolism, and lose their deadly stomach fat. He also joked that they should prepare themselves for the boost in libido that was coming their way too. Finally, he made them swear that they would follow the program and keep him updated with the results. Looking over the manuals, it was obvious to Dan that this simple, proven program would be something they both could follow. Everything was laid out in easy, step-by-step, 2-minute rituals, and there were no weird foods or complicated recipes, just natural herbs, spices, and foods that sounded delicious. At first glance, Dan wondered how something that looked so easy could ever reverse the symptoms of type 2 diabetes while losing belly fat every single day without the use of drugs or stimulants of any kind. Then he remembered the testimonials and stunning before and after pictures Dr. Heinrich had shown him, and how each and every one of his patients experienced incredible results following the exact same plan he was holding in his hands. In his mind's eye, he could still see the remarkable changes, not only in terms of weight loss, yet also how much younger each person looked after following the program. The very next day was an emotional one for Dan and Sylvie, as they found themselves back on an airplane and heading home. They had decided to cut their trip short so that they could get started with the program Dr. Heinrich had shared with them. As the plane reached cruising altitude, Sylvie reached over to grab Dan's hand. They looked into each other's eyes and started to cry tears of joy as they recalled the traumatic